Todd Beadle, getting ready to start our District of Brown Deer School Board meeting. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to be able to do that. I call this meeting to order at 6:06 in the PM. One thing I do want to start out with, I am so glad and thankful that the basketball game is tomorrow and not tonight, because I don't even know if we would even have the people online right now that we have, including myself, an avid Bucks fan. So can we get one? Go Bucks, go. Oh, all right. Exciting times. All right, so we have our call. This meeting has been called to order at 6:06. We have a verification of public notice, verification of a quorum. We have all 7 members of our school board. Approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Dr. Beadle, this is Nicole Zick. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you very much, Nicole. The motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Dr. Beadle, I'll second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and/or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. Now let's go on to our mission statement. Together with our families and community, we will inspire students to be passionate learners, creative thinkers, and innovative leaders who enrich our world. All right, let's go on to our business office and facilities report, facilities and grounds report. Ms. Smitska.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Beadle. So the majority of our summer, as you can imagine, is really spent making sure that the classrooms in particular, but the buildings in general, are ready for the students to come back in the fall. And this year is no exception to that. So we are working hard at summer cleaning. We are making significant progress. The middle school wing is already completed. So we're marching forward with that. Looking forward to having teachers back in the buildings. So along with that summer cleaning schedule, which is really robust and really pushes the custodians, we also have a number of small projects and large projects from time to time that we complete when the students are not in the buildings. So we've emptied the pool and that has been scrubbed, as well as the prep work for the filter. The filter has been completed. So we're now just waiting for those filters to arrive so that the installation can be completed as well, so that we can bring that project to completion. As well as that, the custodians have cleaned out a lot of our storage areas. So we tend to be pack rats. We keep things because as a public school, sometimes the funds tend to be scarce, and so we keep things just in case. So we have made a concerted effort to go through those just in case items and make sure that they are all functioning. And if they're not, then we have been clearing out those storage areas. Also, you may have noticed that we did repair 2 rather large potholes at the entrance to the middle school or the middle high school. You're welcome. Middle high school visitor lot. So that has been completed. It is much better now. And we just take those little repairs as they come and work with those contractors to schedule them. The other really big, not a micro victory, a macro victory that I'd like to talk to you about is that we are fully staffed in the facilities and grounds department. It's typically not a problem. We tend to not see a lot of turnover in my group, but I'm so proud that we really have the right people in the right spots right now. We hired a groundskeeper who is incredibly knowledgeable and has just been a fantastic asset to the team. And we've also moved a custodian to a grounds role due to her attitude and her positivity. We've hired a couple of second shift custodians. And so it's just been really good to see the team come together and to truly have a team that is working as a team and getting those buildings back into shape for the kids. So that's a little bit as to what is going on in the facilities world. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Board members, any questions for Ms. Smitska?
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, let's go on to our next item, which is our approval of new hires. And we'll have that with Kevin.
Good evening, board. We have a number of employment-related decisions in front of you tonight. First of all, our new hires, still trying to fill the vacancies that we have throughout the buildings. We do have 3 new teachers we're going to recommend you bring on tonight. Carmen McBride and Raven Wilson at the elementary school, and Amber Olszewski at the high school.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the hiring of Carmen McBride?
Dr. Beadle,
Yes?
I'll make the motion to approve the hiring of Carmen McBride as an elementary school teacher for the 21-22 school year.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Ashley. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. Motion carries unanimously 7-0. We welcome Carmen McBride to our Brown Deer School family. All right, next. We have a motion, would someone like to make a motion to approve the hiring of Raven Wilson?
Dr. Beadle, this is Felita Daniels Ashley. I make a motion to approve the hiring of Raven Wilson as an elementary school teacher for the 21-22 school year.
Thank you very much, Felita. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I will second Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, hearing and seeing none. All in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. We welcome Raven Wilson to our family. And last but not least, would someone like to make a motion for the hiring of Amber Olszewski?
Dr. Beadle, I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Amber Olszewski as a high school teacher for the 21-22 school year.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ashley. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. All right, let's welcome our brand new teachers to our Brown Deer family. All right. Can't wait for them to get started and do wonderful things and take our children take our students to the next level. All right, let's go on to item C, approval of resignations. Mr. Klimick.
Yes, we also have 3 resignations this evening, all at the elementary school. Stephanie Adrahan, Kimberly Bretzel, and Ryan Scheffler. Ms. Bretzel did sign her contract and did resign after the date of July 1st, which is the date that liquidated damages start to kick in. So we would recommend that you accept her resignation pending the receipt of liquidated damages, but the other 2 teachers are able to resign on their own.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Kevin. All right, would someone like to make a motion to approve the resignation of Stephanie Adrahan?
Dr. Beadle, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resignation of Stephanie Adrahan as an elementary school special education teacher effective June 24th, 2021.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. The motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Dr. Beadle, I'll second.
Thank you very much, Peter. All right, motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. We wish Stephanie the best in her future endeavors. All right, next, could we move, someone make a motion to approve the resignation of Kimberly Bretzel?
Dr. Vito, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resignation of Kimberly Bretzel as an elementary school teacher pending receipt of her liquidated damages in the amount of $2,000.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vick. All right, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? I think my only discussion question would be is, Kevin, you said that she signed her letter after the due date. I mean, was it like directly right after or?
She signed her contract back in May
Okay,
after the contracts were issued, and then turned in her resignation on July 1st.
and the date was July, when did it have to be in by?
July 1st. July 1st through June 30th would have been the end of the non-liquidated damages period. And then starting July 1st through July 31st is the $2,000 range, and then it increases as we get closer to and then including the school year.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, any other discussion? Yes, Ms. Peterson.
Yeah, I was just, so we're approving this pending the payment of that. And so if she doesn't pay it, she certainly is still resigning, then what does this do? Just go on the record of us not approving it then? What happens then?
Well, technically, teachers cannot have two contracts simultaneously in the state of Wisconsin. So she would be unable to be employed by another district while we still retain the rights. Now, certainly, we can work with her on a payment plan or something like that. That would, we would not insist necessarily on the money up front to do it. But as long as we had a plan started, we would work with her to receive the damages and then allow her to move on to her next career opportunity.
Okay. All right.
And Ms.
Thank you.
Peterson, Ms. Peterson, let me
Yes.
just add to that too. Kevin, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's another public school district. So
Okay.
all of the public school districts that have to follow the state statutes. Just
Got
wanted to add that piece for clarification as well.
All
That
right.
is-
I
that is correct.
appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you for that piece of clarity, Dr. Kelsey Brown. All right, any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of the resignation of Kimberly, raise hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. All right, we wish Kimberly the best in her new role upon receiving payment of liquidated damages, her state statute. All right, and lastly, would someone like to make a motion to approve the resignation of Ryan Scheffler?
Hi, yes, Dr. Beadle. This is Anita Peterson. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resignation of Ryan Scheffler as an elementary school special ed teacher.
Let me clarify. The last name is Scheffler.
Scheffler? Okay,
Scheffler,
Ryan
yes.
Scheffler.
Yes.
Sorry
Okay.
about that, Ryan Scheffler.
That's okay. Ryan Scheffler as an
Yeah.
elementary school special education teacher.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. The motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor would raise hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. We wish Ryan much success at the new position. All right, and like we always say, once a Falcon, always a Falcon. So you can always try to come home if we've got something that's open. Thank you very much for your services, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's go on to item number D, approval of the 2021-2022 shared services agreement with Fox Point and Bayside for physical therapy. Mr. Clemick, take us away.
Yes, you have the contract in front of you. This is an annual process the board goes through. We share a physical therapist with Fox Point Bayside. They are the fiscal agent for this transaction, so they pay the employee and then they bill us twice a year for those services. So she splits her time between our two districts. So this has been in place, I believe, as long as I was even on the board. So it's a regular occurrence that you guys will see every July.
Kev, question for you. And reading back through that shared services agreement, I didn't see a dollar amount.
It's always 50% of her salary.
I saw that. I saw that part, but I want to know, well, what is the salary? I mean, if it's $1 million, I don't want to pay $500,000 for a PT person. So
No.
I didn't see the dollar amount when I was going through the documents for any of actually these shared agreements or whatever have you. It just said that we would be 50% of, and someone else would be the physical agent. I just didn't know if you could let us know what that dollar amount would be.
I don't have it off the top of my head. It's comparable to what it has been in the past, so it's not I guess it isn't a surprise. I can certainly share that with you. I know that sounds like an odd answer to that question. Or if you want to wait a few moments, I could certainly look it up. But it's based on an agreement that, I mean, we set with them, and her salary has been relatively consistent, obviously, with some increases over the years. So it isn't $1 million, but it's probably in the I want to say probably in the $50,000-$60,000 range, I believe.
Okay.
Is our
All right.
portion of that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just had to ask that question. And otherwise, I was just thinking to myself, was I reading some of the wrong information? Or I was reading something that was older and there was something that was updated that had the dollar amounts on it. So, okay.
I will certainly send an email to the board just letting you know what the contracted amount was for this past year.
Oh, thank you very much, Kevin. All right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the shared services agreement with Fox Point Bayside?
Dr. Beto, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 21-22 shared services agreement with Fox Point Bayside for physical therapy as presented.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. All right, a motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will
Dr. Beto,
second.
All right, I guess like Dorinthia Robinson has seconded. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Ms. Peterson.
I do think that it's important. Kevin, thank you for getting that information emailed out to us. But I do think that it's important going forward that there is an amount. I had noticed that as well, that I believe that there should be an amount in the actual agreement so we know what that 50% looks like. So for future reference going forward, if we do contract with and have this shared agreement again next year, that we make changes and include that dollar amount.
All
yes,
right.
they may be in the same situation that we are because she is actually an employee of their district. They may be offering, the cost of living increases and things like that at a later time. So just as our teachers, their contracted number is a certain thing right now, it will change throughout the course of the year. So I can certainly find out if that's part of the cause of why we've been doing the 50-50 as a percentage, but I can certainly find out what we anticipate that to be this year as well.
Sounds great. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Does anyone else have any further questions? Ms. Smith, is your hand up for a question? Okay. All right. All right. No more further discussion. All in favor with raised hand and/or aye? All right. Motion carries unanimously 7-0 on the shared services agreement. Let's go on now to item E, approval of the 2021 benefits consultant contract. Mr. Klimick.
Yes, this is our contract with NIS, which assists the district in all personnel benefits, including health insurance, dental insurance, vision, long and short-term disability. They help us check our rates on an annual basis and help negotiate with those carriers to try to bring us in at a relatively modest increases. Again, this year they did assist in getting our health insurance at a 0% increase.
All right. With that being said, would someone like to make a motion to approve the benefit consultant contract?
Dr. Beto, I'll make a motion to approve the 21-22 benefits consulting contract between the School District of Brown Deer and National Insurance Services as presented.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Zick. All right. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made and second. Any discussion? And I think my only discussion question again is, Mr. Klimick, what was the dollar amount?
That is outlined in the last page of the addendum. I believe it is $31,250 with 2% increases if the contract continues to roll over.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye? All right, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. All right.
Dr.
Let's-
Beadle, if I could, before we move on, I just wanted to get a sense. The contract does have the ability to roll over on an annual basis, as I mentioned, that it would just continue with certain notices. We can get out of it at any point in time, or we can non-renew, if you will, in the spring. I guess I just wanted to ask the board if they wanted me to continue to bring the contract to them on an annual basis, or at least discuss it maybe in that window of non-renewal if the board felt like they wanted to re-examine that relationship. Obviously, I've only been working with them closely for a couple of months, but I do find their input and advice valuable so far. So I've enjoyed the experience. Certainly, we'll continue to discuss it and look at it. And if we feel a change would be necessary down the road, we certainly can. I just want to know if you want me to bring this to you every July, or whether you would, whether you want to let it roll over with the 2% increases and only address it if there's an issue going forward.
I don't know, board, you want to weigh in? I would actually like to know every year when that comes up, so that we understand and we know, kind of what's going on and what's happening. I don't know, discussion board.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that it only takes a few minutes just to get the approval. And certainly if there are any issues, Kevin, you can address them either at the time of renewal, but if something comes up that we need to look at the contract for cancellation in the interim, it comes as a special report from you. But I wouldn't mind seeing it each year.
Okay, I'll happily bring it up earlier than this. This kind of caught me by surprise even, so I'll probably bring it up in May or in April or May, just so we kind of know what we're doing going forward. So, all right, thank you.
Felita, did you have something that you wanted to add, or question you wanted to ask?
No, I didn't.
Any other board members have any comments, thoughts, before we go ahead and move forward? All right, so I guess it's the consensus of the board, Kev, if you would just go ahead and make sure that you get us that information annually, just so that we kind of understand and we know what's going on or whatever. And I think we trust you and a lot of your judgment and relationship when it comes to things or whatever. We just want to make sure that we're in the know.
Absolutely, no problem.
All right, sounds good. All right, let's move on. Let's move forward. Let's go on to item number F, approval of the middle school assistant principal contract.
Well, the administration would like to recommend extending the 2-year contract from 2021 to 2023 to Jay Henderson to serve as the Brown Deer Middle School assistant principal, and his contract is attached.
All right. All right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve our next assistant principal for our middle school?
Dr. Beadle, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2021-2023 middle school assistant principal employment agreement as presented.
Thank you very much, Nicole. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much, Felita. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of the approval of our new assistant principal, raise hand and or aye. Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. We'd like to welcome our brand new assistant principal on board to the Brown Deer family. We're expecting great and wonderful things from you, sir. All right. Let's move forward. Let's move on to item number G, approval of the school psychologist contract. Mr. Klimick.
Yes, the administration is also excited to offer an employment contract to Rebecca Thiesfeld to become our second school psychologist. This would replace Liz Stegman. One of the things we are trying to do is kind of re-examine the way we're doing some of our contracts. And so because a lot of districts treat school psychologists kind of under the same contract schedule as teachers, We have extended a 1-year contract for Rebecca, and we'll continue that. I'll try to continue that going forward instead of the 2-year contract that I think Liz had previously.
All right, so Kevin, are we just for clarification and for clarity itself? All right, so this person wouldn't be part of the administrative team, so that's the administrative team members actually have the 2-year contracts, correct?
That's correct. I mean, she's part of the student services team. Again, just trying to make sure that we're aligning with what other districts are doing with related to the various levels of I guess I'd call it middle management sort of position. So,
Okay.
So many districts do kind of put their psychologists along, like guidance counselors, social workers. They're all on teacher contracts, and we'll likely move that way as well going forward.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, just to be clear and everything like that, so that we understand as a board that we know when we get ready to do certain contracts, are they 1 year compared to 2-year contracts, and we know the criteria for the 2-year contracts is administration, and then 1-year contracts go along in relationship to technical staff, support staff, teachers, and specialists, correct?
That is the plan for the most part, yes.
All right, sounds good. All right, would someone like to make a motion to approve the 2021-22 school psychologist employment agreement?
Yes, Dr. Beadle, this is Lisa Zielinski. I would like to make a motion to approve Rebecca Thiesfeld's contract as the school psychologist for the 2021-22 school year as presented.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zielinski. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Nicole. A motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye? All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. We welcome her on board as our new school psychologist. All right, let's go on to item number 8, approval of the human resource manager contract. Mr. Clemick.
Yes, and these next two are kind of in the same vein where we are kind of that middle, I don't want to say middle management exactly, but those sort of administrator contracts for both Trina Jackson and Kathy Kelser, who are technically both working without a contract because they both expired before we had gotten to this. We're just looking to renew them again in their positions for the 21-22 school year. So this would be both for Katrina as our human resource manager, and then next item is Kathy Kelser as the district accountant.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much. All right, would someone like to make a motion for the 2021-2022 human resource manager employment agreement?
Yes, Dr. Beadle, this is Lisa again. I'd like to make a motion to approve Katrina Jackson's contract as human resource manager for the 2021-22 year as presented.
Thank you very much, Lisa. All right, motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye? All right, motion carries unanimously 7-0. All right, so Ms. Jackson, thank you and welcome back again. All right, so next, let's go on to item number I, motion to approve the district accountant employment agreement. Someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 district accountant employment agreement as presented.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded.
Dr. Beadle,
Mr. Clemick, do you have something to say?
Yeah, can we mention her by name, Catherine Kelser, just to clarify
Oh, I'm
that?
sorry. All right. Do we need to go back to the motion itself, Mr. Clemick? If we can go back to the motion itself to start that back off, Ms. Robinson.
Okay, I don't have her name in the motion, so let me go back to the contract.
It's Catherine Kelser.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 district accountant employment agreement for Catherine Kelser as presented.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
And I will again second, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? All right, hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. With that being said, you know what, in the future, for our motion sheet, if we could actually potentially have the individuals' names added to the motion sheet, I think that would be greatly appreciated. Because I know I usually read the name prior to the motion being made. So, but again, I think we probably need to make sure that we always have the name in front of the person that's given the motion, so that way we don't run into this issue.
Yes, we can do that.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Kelsey Brown and Ms. Ross. All right, let's go on to item 3, engaged learners. Dr. Kelsey Brown, the floor is yours.
Good evening, board members. This is standard operating procedure for us on an annual basis. The state law requires that each school district provides parents and guardians of all enrolled students with the notice of academic standards. This is something we typically do around the July, August time of the school year. And so we are forging ahead with that as it relates to the standards that we will address in the Brown Deer School District for the 21-22 academic school year. And so tonight we are seeking your approval for notice of the academic standards that will be in effect for next year.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kelsey Brown. All right, board, would someone like to make a motion to approve the annual notice of academic standards as presented for Dr. Kelsey Brown? Okay, I heard somebody, but I don't hear you.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 annual notice of academic standards as presented.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I second the motion, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zick. All right, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on this very important matter? Yes, Ms. Ashley.
I just have one quick question, and that is in terms of the posting of this notice, how is that, how are parents notified of this notice?
So there's another piece to this, Ms. Ashley, where we actually post this information to our district website as well. So anyone who is perusing or peruses our website will find this information on the website as well.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, excellent question, Ms. Ashley. Anyone else have any questions, further questions before we go to vote? All right, hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. All right, let's move on to item B, approval of the Kiel Intergovernmental Agreement. Dr. Kelsey Brown and Kevin.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Vito. This is a second discussion regarding the district petitioning the board to allow us to establish a partnership with the Kiel School District. We do want to be responsive to our families who may need a virtual option as we continue to plan for the 21-22 school year. Many of the questions that were posed at the last at the last board meeting were noted in the executive summary. And if there are any additional questions that came as a result of that, we'd be happy to answer. Provided that we have the answer, we may need to go back, but we just, again, want to be able to provide a virtual option to our families who are expressing interest in mostly a medical need for students for the upcoming school year. And then if there are any questions around the fiscal aspect of this piece, Kevin can help us out with that.
How much, Kev?
$4,350 per student.
And how many students are we thinking potentially?
I think, well, again, the great part about this kind of agreement, again, is that if we don't send any students, it costs us nothing. So we're just entering that partnership. It'll be based solely on the numbers. Now we'll have to commit at a certain point, to say, here's how many families we're going to, or how many students we will be sending. And then if students drop out, there's a prorated cost to us during certain times of the year, but at a certain point, we end up paying the entire amount. But we can certainly, I think the goal of the administration is to see what kind of response we're getting. We're certainly hopeful it's not many students, especially with the limitation of the medical need as the focus. So, but honestly, your guess is as good as mine as to how many students would actually request it. So we'll certainly look at it. There'll be a point where we wouldn't be able to, have hundreds of students go, but we're hopeful that we'll be able we'll have a small number of students and we'll be able to meet those needs. And again, it is a less expensive option for us than having the children open and roll out into another virtual academy.
And alongside that, Dr. Bito, I'll just also add, we are trying to ensure that we do not ask our teachers to teach in both of the platforms next year. That, again, just presented a myriad of, while I think our teachers did a great job doing it, it presented a myriad of challenges in terms of trying to address both models in that hybrid format last year. And so this would be our virtual. We wanted to offer a virtual option, and we think this is the best option moving forward, given that we don't have to make a commitment right out the gate until we understand how many of our families are requesting this. I do have, in the next agenda item C, I do have numbers regarding how many families have registered at each building so far. Not sure yet how many are requesting requesting the virtual option just yet.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Peterson.
One question, it probably could be for either one of you guys. I was reading in 7.2 that we have the option of providing Chromebooks, or they will provide Chromebooks at a cost. Do we know what our plan is now, if and when we have students sign up for that?
Yes,
Kara has mentioned that we have the Chromebooks available, so we would be using ours, so we would be able to reduce that amount from the
Exactly, reduce the cost by the $350. And then
Correct.
My other question is as it relates to the day-to-day classroom time that the students will have. Is that aligned with Brown Deer's day, if you will, or do we not know what that curriculum looks like? Or can you expound on that just a little bit for me?
So what we can share, we share the calendar with you, so we know that the calendar is not in alignment with our instructional calendar.
Right.
What we've learned from KIL is they take more of a personalized approach to learning, in that students work at their own pace in terms of what the curriculum, what the standards are based on the curriculum. On our end, our responsibility will be to have a staff member on our campus to help progress monitor or understand how the students are performing from one quarter to the next, or even bi-weekly. That's a piece we still have to work out, but someone here on our campus will be responsible for following our students, our Brown Deer students who are paired up or partnering up with the KIL option, so that we can make sure that they are indeed successful in the program as well. We do, in the executive summary, you will see we are, as district administration or building leaders, asking to reserve the right, if we see our students are not thriving in that virtual space, that we can make the request to have our students come back to in-person learning.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Brown.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Smith?
Okay, hi, reading through the executive summary, I'm still not super comfortable. I didn't see my questions answered with regard to the fact that I'm a believer that representation matters, who we put in front of students. And just with the 1% demographic of students of color that are at that district, I don't feel comfortable outsourcing the learning. I think, even though I know before someone said, well, it's virtual, but even in a virtual realm, parents want to be able to interact and engage with that instructor. You know, even to me, it just feels as though I don't see that matching up with our student population or the engagement would be there even through virtual. I mean, I was able to engage great with the teachers that were working with my students. I'm still worried about that piece, the representation, and also the distance in case a parent needed to go to the building for whatever reason. I understand that you do have a teacher that's going to be on special assignment that would facilitate that, but the day-to-day, who are we putting in front of the students? That's still just my question.
So thank you, Ms. Smith, for your questions. Those two pieces, while I understand your concern around that, the way I see that is those are pieces that are like kind of beyond our locus of control because we can't ensure who will enroll in Kiel. And then as for any of the other options that were closest to us, we can't guarantee who the population of students will be, nor will we ever have a hand in who they hire.
Right.
So
No, I understand what you're saying. And one of my questions was, what were the other, like I see that Kiel has been doing this for a long time, and if that's the best, then that's what we want. But I never got an answer to what were the other options or that you all looked at as far as who was doing this. So I thought that was going to come back tonight.
So Mr. Garrison is not with us this evening. I'm not able to speak to that. I think the biggest piece for us was just understanding. So we can continue to look into what those other options may be. In our conversation, Mr. Clemick, Mr. Garrison, and myself, we thought this would be the most appropriate option from, first of all, a personalized learning standpoint. I know Dr. Beadle had asked about differentiation as it relates to this, and there's no better differentiation, quite frankly, than personalized learning for students. But we can investigate, and then we also thought because let's just say none of our students are interested or families are interested in a virtual option, then we don't have to make a commitment to the dollar amount.
Right, that would be great. But is anyone else doing the personalized learning at the level that Kiel's doing it? I'm just wondering, I'm sure you all looked at several others. I would just like to see how those shake out.
Sure, I can, when Mr. Garrison returns, I can get that information
Right,
from
because
him.
that's what I asked the last time. So I was looking through to see and I didn't see it. So I was just wondering if it was an oversight.
I'll have Mr. Garrison send an email to the board to respond to your question.
Okay, thank you.
Smith. Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions before we go to a motion?
I guess just a general question that I have, do we know when we need to let them know when, or how many are participating?
I think Kevin can respond to that.
Yeah, we will be in contact with them throughout August. We can certainly, their schedule starts the same as ours in the sense of September 1st as their first date. So we'd certainly try to have that solidified before then. Will, last minute registrants come in and require the virtual thing? We don't know. We may have to adjust a little bit. Certainly, we want to make sure that we have the families that are committed to participating, to have those spots. And certainly based on the number, we can at least inform the board as to where we're at. Because again, I think we're all completely in the dark as to exactly what this will, what level of interest this will have and how many students will want to do it. But we do have, again, that flexibility to wait until, near the beginning of the school year to provide that. Again, unless we're talking about dozens and dozens of kids, we'd be giving them numbers to that extent earlier so they'd be able to prepare and make sure they had enough staffing involved. But if it was adding 1 or 2 or 3 students right at the end, that shouldn't be a problem for them.
That's the speechless.
Yes, and then with that being said, do we know how long we have to actually sign the contract? Because it now sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're asking for additional, it's an ask for additional information to be reviewed. And so does that mean that we are not going to, I think I have a couple of questions in here, my apologies, but to Kevin and Dr. Brown, how long do we have to sign this contract? And then my second question will come after that answer.
Yeah, there is no set time frame. Obviously, they will. They're continuing to partner with districts. When I reached out to them a couple weeks ago to say that we were interested in pursuing it, they were excited. Sent us the contract. If we had to wait until the end of July, I don't anticipate that would be a problem. There may be a point, however, where they would decide that they have enough students involved and they didn't want to accept other districts. So we just have to be conscious of that. But
Okay.
there's no deadline at this point of what they're looking for.
Okay, thank you. And so then my next question in turn is, had you guys already vetted other places, or does this mean that you all are going completely back to the drawing board to look at other organizations? I trust, my assumption was that you guys did a good job in determining that this is the one that you wanted to present to the board. But now that the question is being asked, is that a time-consuming process for you? Obviously, knowing it's going to slow down the approval, because that's my third question then. Do we table this until the other proposals come, or the additional information that has been requested by our board member? Will that be a need to table this? So, Kevin, if you have anything to say in my mumbo jumbo there, please do.
We did examine a couple other options. Some of them are using the open enrollment formula, and so there's more of a commitment involved. And then there were, I'm trying to think, there was one other one that basically was a similar thing, but again, at the open enrollment price. So we did look at, I would say that most of the decision, and certainly I was more involved in the financial side of it than in the instructional side, but once we were comfortable with the instructional offerings and the length of a time that this program has been in existence, and then having that option of where it is really a partnership, where I think some of the other options were more of you're sending your kids to those schools and that's it. Here they were intending to interact with us more, and again, that price point was something that was a little bit more palatable for us, not knowing again how many students we would be able to offer to. So in other situations, we may have to force ourselves to commit to a certain number of seats, which may be too many or too little for the need. And so I think that's one of the reasons why with all the uncertainty, we just thought this would be the best option.
Okay.
All right, so I guess my thing right now is for clarification is this. So we picked from what we knew of. We picked you submitted yourself and Dr. Kelsey Brown and Mr. Garrison came up with the best possible group to be able to do this, but it's also from a financial aspect of not having to commit to actual dollars themselves. It'd be based upon registration and whom registers for it at a certain dollar amount and not at the open enrollment dollar amount. Am I correct?
That is correct. That is exactly correct.
All right. Is Mr. Garrison? I know he's on vacation, but sometimes people kind of pop in. Is Mr. Garrison on here? To
No,
potentially give any other point of clarity to Ms. Smith, because she brings up some points. And I guess from a board standpoint of the way that this is kind of going right now is we would have to potentially have to table this until our July 20.
We can bring it to the board retreat as well.
Right. All right.
If you like.
Okay. All right. I think that might be best. Lisa, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Aren't we having a meeting at the end of July?
The 27th.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
We're having a meeting July 27th. That's what I was saying.
I'm sorry, I jumped over that one.
Right. Well, we want to table this until July 27th. Until that way we can get some more information. Ms. Smith can get her questions answered, and then there could be other points of clarity and everything else like that, so that everyone feels good about the decision that we're getting ready to make. So I don't know. Does anybody else have any other comments then?
I just wanted to add for a little bit of clarity, because I think, and I want to make sure that Mrs. Smith's question is clear, because they did attempt to answer the question as far as culturally responsive teaching practices. And they said that they partner with Great Lakes Equity Center to provide professional development as far as being culturally responsive. So Mrs. Smith, if you can just make it very clear Because it seems like maybe that's kind of vague for you, if I'm understanding, like what your question is as far as their cultural responsiveness.
You're on mute, Mr.
Oh, yeah, no, I unmuted myself. Just, you know, I'm going to be very clear. I mean, can we look at who they will be putting in front of our students? I understand that this is, you know, what is this, half of the open enrollment amount? Okay, fine, it's financially fine, but who are you pulling in front? I feel like we're sending our students off to a system that we don't really have control over, although we can, you know, we will have an educator that will follow them, but these are our students and our parents because it's a partnership and they're not going open enrollment. So I understand that, but I just want to be very sure with, as a parent, you know, representing parents, representing students, you know, just looking on paper, I understand cultural responsiveness on paper, but how much is that needed to be impacted? What other districts are partnering with it where they put that into practice? Because that 1%, I've never said that 1% children of color is just, you know, is really, for some students, that's a barrier. So I just want to make sure that we're very sure that there's representation. And I understand we have no control over who districts hire, but we can certainly look at who they've hired to say, okay, I feel comfortable sending our students here. I can do my research. I'll do my research also, again, for the board retreat, but I don't want that to be a barrier for parents. I mean, they put a lot of trust in us, but I don't want that to be a barrier for parents where they say, oh, I have to do in person here when they really medically should not. But I do know who's in front of my kids, so I'm gonna put my kids in person. I just want that to be very clear.
So you're asking Ms. Smith then for clarity around the staffing in terms of the teachers?
Yes, like anyone that looks at our staffing, they can say, okay, Brown Deer is a district that I'd like to utilize, which is what we did. You know, so I want to do our due diligence because the parents don't have the opportunity to do this, so that when someone asks me about it on the street, I can say, yeah, if you feel like, you know, tell any constituent, yeah, if you feel like you want your child to be full virtual for next year, you know what, I think that would be a good idea for your child to do, you know, to do that if that's something you feel medically necessary. But at this point, you know, I'd say, well, go and try it and see what happens.
Well, so in viewing the KEELS website as it relates to the diversity of the staff, I can clearly share with you that the majority of the staff were all Caucasian. So that piece I can share with you.
Right, and then the population of the students is 1% people of color, not even 1% Black, very different from what we have here. So how much of that cultural, so then that leads me to wonder, okay, you have your culturally responsive practices. Where are you putting those into practice with your 1%? So then we need to look at who else, what other districts similar to ours are sending their kids there where they're implementing these culturally responsive practices, because they would not need to utilize them with their 1%. Are they good at this? Where is just what, you know, of course they're trained in it, but they don't need to utilize it with the 1%. I want to be very sure of where we send our students.
Well, let me share with you as well, Mrs. Smith, in terms of trying to balance the academic piece with the fiscal piece, there aren't any other options out there.
Okay, now that was my first question. That was my first question when Mr. Garrison was here. What have you looked at? What are the other options? If you all had said we haven't looked at anything else, there are no other options, this is it, this makes sense for us, that's fine. But I was just under the impression that maybe you all vetted a couple other options. So, and that's what you led me to believe, not you specifically, but what I understood from the last meeting. So my expectation today was at least to see an answer to that, but you've just answered it. So I'm very clear now.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
You didn't look anywhere else. This is where we look. This makes sense money-wise. This is, you know, where we are going to confidently send our students off to.
There was one other option that Mr. Garrison did take a look at. I don't have that detailed information with me this evening, so I'll be more than happy to have him either email the board that information or again, bring it back to the end of the month board meeting. The two options that I can't think of the name of the other one. Again, he has all of that information. What we were gleaning our information from is my conversations with other superintendents in the surrounding areas who are also offering or attempting to offer a virtual option, knowing that in their estimation, this is a good fit for them as well. And some of those schools do have demographics that are similar to ours. When you have a 70% student of color demographic, demographics as we do in Brown Deer, there are not many other districts around us who have similar or even mirror our demographics, if you will. But I'll find out I'd be happy to find out from Mr. Garrison what the second virtual option was. Again, we know that that piece would have been, as Mr. Clemick stated earlier, that it would have been through an open enrollment process.
Right.
And again, we were trying to be just strike a balance between being fiscally sound and offering a strong academic virtual option for
Right.
students and families.
I understand attempting to strike that balance, but I would not. I understand that, but and I wouldn't say at the expense of blank, but I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, because when people come and they ask you, and you want to be able to say, yeah, I voted for this, send your kid, I'm confident in it, and I'd like to be able to say that. So any other information you can find regarding, I would appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
The only other thing that I would just add briefly is that I don't think they know what the student makeup will look like, because I don't think they know all the students that will be, attending the school. So that's part of it, is that I know that they have had people in the past, but the other districts in the area that are sending kids, I don't know what the makeup of those
And
student body will be like. So it's going to fluctuate, certainly.
Right, it will fluctuate. We are a very distinct population here in Brown Deer, and so other superintendents are sending people that will blend in with that 99%. We're right next door to Milwaukee. They're probably doing their own thing, but I want the highest level of what academically, but I will not throw anyone into a situation that I don't think will not throw a confidence that I don't think would serve them well. I mean, in that respect, looking at the data, who's in front of the student matters. Yes, they've trained in cultural responsiveness, but no, they haven't had to use it, because those districts that are sending their children are districts that don't reflect our demographic. They've not had to use it. I can be trained and trained and trained, but if I've never implemented it because there was no need to, then that to me is, that's just an executive summary that the people have been trained, not that they're having expertise in it or facility in it.
Any further discussion in relationship to this? All right. It seems as though the route that the discussion kind of went is we have two options here. One option could be is for someone to make a motion and it's not seconded, and so then it's put down, or we could have someone make a motion to table this conversation to the July 27th meeting. Those are the two options in front of us.
Dr. Beto, I'm sorry, can you repeat the first option one more time?
Option number one would be is to make a motion to approve this virtual partnership as presented. And if a person can make a motion, if no one seconds it, then it's done. Then the other option could be is someone could make a motion to table this discussion to the July 27th meeting. So does everybody understand? So if a person makes a motion to approve, let me finish, Ms. Smith.
Oh, no. Okay, because it's my motion. I was like, I don't know.
Right. I just want to bring point of clarity.
Okay.
So if someone makes a motion to approve this partnership, if it's not seconded, then it's done. All right, it's got to be seconded. If that happens, we also could make a motion to table this discussion until the July 27th, 2021 meeting. And then that way we could get all the rest of the information presented and everything else like that.
For clarification, Dr. Beto, if the motion is made to approve and it's not seconded, does that mean that this motion is completely dead? We
Yes.
can't
Yeah, that motion does.
revisit,
I'm sorry, a point of
that
clarity.
motion would be dead, but we would, thank you, Lisa, go ahead.
The administration could bring this back up again if they chose
Right.
to.
Right.
That's
But it
my
would-
question.
It would be dead right now tonight for the vote or whatever, but again, it could be brought back again later on with those clarifying pieces.
Right. Yeah,
That was my question, thank
right.
you.
Yeah, to clarify, as long as you don't vote it down, that would require that a motion to reconsider in order to bring it back. So that would be the only thing. So as long as you don't vote it down.
Or we could or somebody can make the motion to table it until the 27th meeting. Ms. Ashley?
So since the district has presented the proposal, I'd like to just make a motion to approve the 21-22 Kiel Intergovernmental Agreement Virtual Partnership as it was presented tonight.
Dr. Beto, I'd like to second that. This is Anita Peterson.
Dr. Beto, I may I also add that in our conversations with our families at our reentry meetings throughout the year, we held probably 9 or 10 of those virtual meetings for all the families who were interested in joining us on those evening sessions. We did share with our, again, the families that were able to get on that we would offer a virtual option for students for the upcoming school year. So not that I'm fearful at all, but if we move in a different direction with another virtual option, I just want us to be mindful of the potential to miss out on what these other districts might be offering because of what enrollment could potentially look like. But I also want to be share with our families that we didn't just go out and say we're going to send our students away to another experience. I've talked to other superintendents in other districts who are also partnering with Kiel. So some of our requests may not be very amenable or may not even be something that we will be able to absolutely say yes to in any virtual option, to be quite honest with you, because Brown Deer is a district that is one step above a couple steps above the rest for sure, but our demographics will be hard pressed to find a virtual experience that will mirror the demographics of the Brown Deer School District. So I just don't want us to miss an opportunity to be able to offer this virtual experience, which has been vetted by some other my sister district superintendents as well, and knowing that this is something we would not have brought forward if we didn't believe it was something that would be a viable option for our students and families in the Brown Deer School District. So I just wanted to lay that out there. So some of the specific requests that we would do in-house in our own district, certainly we want to be amenable to, but I don't know that that's a virtual option will be able to honor some of those requests, given how they have kind of showed up over the years. But Kiel was of the interest to us because they've been doing it for a while. And then again, I just want to be mindful that our own teachers who have worked in this hybrid format for the last X amount of months, I just want to be mindful that we're not interested in trying to create our own virtual experience here in Brown Deer, because in all honesty, it was just too much to manage from our teachers' perspective. And so I want to advocate for our teachers in that they don't have to do it in the 21-22 school year, but that we will offer the best virtual option that came our way moving forward. But Ms. Smith, we will definitely get your questions answered as it relates to what you expressed a little earlier as well. So again, I just want us to be mindful of that as we continue to move forward with planning for our families.
Question. Okay. Would this be possible, since this agreement right here is predicated on us and sending students to Kiel? Could we have the agreement with them? And if we didn't send anybody, we didn't send anybody. And if we did, we did. And if there were other options that were out there, we just wouldn't have to just use Kiel. We could use other entities as well too. Is that something that, would that be something that could be an option?
That's a possibility, Dr. Beadle, but just know that it's, then you have the open enrollment per pupil, and then we're dealing with the open enrollment per pupil expenditure, where we thought Kiel was a win-win for both Kiel and us as the Brown Deer School District. So the other districts that we know about at the moment were expressing the partnership through an open enrollment process. And we know what that, what that lends itself to from a per pupil standpoint.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is there, okay.
I would agree with you, Dr. Beadle, if we approve, or if the board decides to approve it tonight, and we don't, let's say that, we don't, students don't take advantage of it, then we're still in a good place.
So then we're still fine.
It's $0. It's $0 that we would pay.
So again, we could do that, and if we went into a partnership with somebody, we could do that as well too, correct?
We could.
Okay.
If that's what the board is looking toward, sure.
Okay. Ms. Smith, question for you, Board Member Smith. Would that be something that you'd be open to?
Or just, you're saying having dual partnerships or partnering with them, and then I wasn't clear on what you all were saying, partnering with them and then leaving an option open to still partner with someone else. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, because apparently what happens with this is that we can go into this partnership. We can have the partnership, but we don't know who we're sending or whatever have you. And then if we did that, I mean, if we send students, fine. If we didn't, that's fine, because it's no financial repercussions to us. And then if there was something, or if there were some other, I don't know, extenuating circumstances in relationship to students, then we could look at some other options as well too. Is that something? Would that be something that would be applicable, well, Dr. Kelsey Brown and Mr. Clemming?
No, it actually would not, but I think we can pass it even if I don't vote for it, because I think that also, one other concern is that with the SPED students, Dr. Andara had said that the SPED students would not do that. So when you were saying we won't have any virtual, but you would have virtual for SPED students, we have money to do that? Because at the last meeting, she said that the SPED students would not be able to apply for this sort of, be a part of the partnership. So that leaves me, but she said we would keep our SPED students. So would they be doing virtual here with special education students, Brown Deer? Has that set up? That wasn't understanding. You said we're not set up for virtual.
I think what would be important is to have,
confused.
I think what would be important is to have Ms. Antandari and Mr. Garrison provide additional clarification. Ideally, yes, Dr. Beadle, we could, or the board, if you would approve this this evening, we can make this an agenda item again at the end of the month board meeting. What I would ask is that we don't position ourselves, or that we not get into trying to then be responsive to numerous virtual options, because they're all over the place.
Right, no.
That's something we wouldn't be able to, I don't know that we'd be able to manage that piece.
Right, and I wasn't expecting that. I was just expecting to see the ones that you all had looked at, and it looks like the ones that you looked at were just the open enrollment, and then this was the only partnership one that presented itself. That's just what I'm understanding.
No, there's a second one, Ms. Smith.
I didn't hear it.
There's a second one. The name escapes me at the moment, but I'll have to get that additional information from Mr. Garrison.
I think that's just the one piece I'd like to see, if just the comparables.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So now that we've had a bunch of discussion, would somebody like to make a motion?
We already have a motion on the floor, as well as a second.
All right. So the motion was made by.
The motion
The motion was made by Felita Daniels Ashley, and the second was by Anita Peterson.
Okay. All right. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor with raise hand and/or aye. All right. Motion carries 6-1, but we will be able to have other information come at our next meeting as well too, correct?
Sure, absolutely.
Point of clarity, Dr. Beadle,
Yes.
we need to identify whether or not that other one vote was a nay or an abstention.
Ms. Smith?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, 6-1. All right, there was 6-1, 6-4, 1 nay. Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson, for that part of it as well. See, we got a dynamite clerk. Way to go. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Great questions. Great questions.
Really, you don't look like you're ready to poke me in the eye. All right. All right, everyone. Let's move forward. But that was excellent discussion, and I think that really good points that were brought up all around. All right, let's move on forward to Dr. Brown, our registration update for enrollment.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Beadle. Just wanted to provide an update. So enrollment started July 1. And as everyone knows, we are now registering online for the Brown Deer School District. And I thought it would be important to provide updates around enrollment because what we know for sure is as we have worked through this pandemic, we have lost students. There are students that we have been unable to find, unable to locate. We're on our roster, of course, but never, checked in, despite how many times either our social worker or our teachers reached out to families. There were some families that we just were unable to locate. So with that being said, we are keeping our fingers on the numbers in terms of what enrollment will look like for the upcoming school year. And so, and also recognizing that our 3-year average over the years will look very different. We're not sure if the legislatures are going to make any special dispensation yet as far as how they're going to respond to the 3-year average for per pupil count. But at the moment, we'll bring you up to date on that as we learn more. But at the moment, returning families at the middle high school right now is a total of 130. At the elementary school, returning families registered 89. And at the moment, new families for new student enrollment is currently 83. Our belief at the moment is the 4th of July holiday, may have sort of interrupted everybody was celebrating. So perhaps it interrupted some of the normalcy that we typically experience around registration. So our hope is that it will pick back up next week and our numbers will increase as we move toward the beginning of the school year.
Dr. Kelsey Brown, could you repeat those numbers one more time?
Sure, absolutely. The middle high school is together at the moment, Dr. Beadle, and I'll get those separated as soon as I can. But together, it's 130. The elementary school, 89, and that's returning families. And then new student enrollment currently, I'm saying families, students, that should be students. 83 new students. And that's the elementary school.
Wait, the new elementary school is 89 and 83.
No, I'm sorry. Elementary is 89. Total new student enrollment is 83.
83. Okay, all right. Okay.
Yes. You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Kelsey Brown in relationship to or Kevin in relationship to enrollment? You guys keep trying to do a wonderful job and trying to be able to do that and reach all of our families in the community to get them enrolled into our wonderful school district, and just go ahead and just keep it up.
Thank you.
All right, let's move forward to item number 4. Engage and innovative staff, Dr. Kelsey Brown.
Yes, just a real quick update. So we're pleased that the middle school is fully staffed with our new principal and our new assistant principal, and just wanted to provide an update to the community. We are still working on the assistant principal at the high school, and our goal is to have to bring a name to the board by the end of this month, the July board meeting. So just a real brief update around that.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other further questions for Dr. Kelsey Brown in relationship to engaged and innovative staff updates? I guess my question is how many candidates right now do we have for that AP position for the high school?
Whoa, meaning how many applied or how many are, so right now we're in discussion with two candidates that Mrs. Brown wanted to engage in discussions with. And so one more discussion will occur. And then our goal is to make an appointment right after that.
All right, so we're down to our 2 finalists then, basically.
Oh, that
Put it
is,
in layman's terms.
oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. See, if you just would have said that, then I'd have been like, okay, cool. Yeah, you had me almost thinking like we were starting from scratch right now.
No, I thought you were taking me. I thought you were taking me back to weekend. Like, no.
Oh no, that's what I thought you were taking me back to.
We can't do that. So.
All right, sounds good. All right. Any other further questions for Dr. Brown in relationship to this? All right. Let's go on to item number 5, engage board and community to lead. Our board retreat is August 6th, 2020, and that is a Saturday morning, and that will go from 9 to 2 p.m.
Friday.
Friday. I'm so sorry. Friday, August 6th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
I have
The
a
year,
question.
the year is incorrect on there too, Dr.
Yeah, it's 2021. I'm sorry. Otherwise we've been there last year. But anyway, for our board retreat, and within that board retreat, we will be doing certain professional developments for the board. We'll be having individuals come in from CESA 6 to talk to us about board norms. The administrative team will be go ahead and give us some information on the data from our school report cards and things of that nature. We'll also have other further discussions and information being shared with us from the administrative team, from the principals and things of that nature. So this is going to be a really, at this time during this board retreat, the board will definitely be going, we will definitely be getting a plethora of information thrown at us, and for us to be able to understand, engage, and being able to help continue to be able to move the district forward. Yes, Ms. Robinson.
When was the decision made to extend the day until 2 o'clock?
So I can, if I may, Dr. Beadle, explain that. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I decide. So there's quite a bit going on that day. So we just extended it to 2 o'clock, Ms. Robinson. So in the event that we go over, the time is still there, but that is not the goal. That's not the goal. I just wanted to extend it in case we did go over, because we're trying to accomplish quite a bit on that Friday. I think it was the last work session that we did, because it was 9 to noon at first. You're correct.
Right.
It was 9 to noon.
And that was what I had made room in my schedule for work. So that's why I'm like, where did 2 o'clock come from?
That was me. Just in case we go over, but hopefully we can, the goal is to streamline it and just do the continuous improvement, professional development with the board in terms of board superintendent relations, and then provide the board with updates regarding our accomplishments for this school year, and then help you understand what changes we are looking to implement to impact student achievement that will be very different from what we did this year. So we will do our very best, Ms. Robinson, to streamline it. But if you if you need to leave, I think it will be okay, Dr. Beadle. Is that okay?
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You always got to take care of that first.
I have a question.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Smith.
Hi, regarding the board retreat, can we get some idea of the data that will be presented? And is not right now, but like before the retreat, which data specifically will be presented, and would we be able to request prior any data we'd like to look at?
Sure. So we can guarantee that you will have access to FastBridge data, which is our local assessment data, and also Wisconsin Forward. Were there any other data sources you were thinking of?
There is, but I'll email you because I gotta do a little bit more research to see what.
So in that email, Ms. Smith,
I'll email everybody just to see, or I don't know, because I don't know my concern. I don't know. See, this would be my first board retreat, so I'm not sure the depth and breadth of what it is. And now that it's going to 2, But so I don't want to share my concern right now. I'm going to ask you if this is a concern. It may not even be. So, so I'm not sure yet, but I wanted to know what data we were going to be looking at and if we could, prior to the meeting, request specific data. But if that's not possible, then I can go look around. I don't know
Sure.
how.
So feel free to send me an email regarding your data request. And if the data is available, we will make sure that you have access to it at the board retreat. If I could add one additional request, if you would send those clarifying questions regarding the Keel agreement, that'd be helpful as well.
I
Yeah.
sure will.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And now that is what we have for item number A. Let's go on to item number B, our ESSER virtual listening session, and that is Dr. Kelsey Brown.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Beadle. So ESSER stands for Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. And as many of you may or may not know, these are dollars that have come down from the federal government as it relates to supporting schools with what we are calling here in the Brown Deer School District as unfinished learning. So that is the way we are approaching our work moving forward. So essentially, our response to anything COVID related is what these dollars can be used for. Our listening, each district is now, there's a need for each district to have listening sessions to gauge from the community what their thoughts are around use of these funds. So the first listening session, which will be virtual, on July 20th, and expect Ms. Courtney Krieger, our communication specialist, will send additional information to the entire community, including the link for the virtual session. We do have a series of questions we'd like to pose to our community regarding use of the ESSER dollars. Subsequent to that date, on August 17th, we will be closer to a finalized plan, if you will, to share with the community as it relates to what we look to do with those dollars moving forward in response to COVID-related unfinished learning. So again, it's an opportunity for the community to engage in a discussion with district administration. All of the cabinet members will be a part of that discussion, and we're interested in hearing our community out. And understanding what that lends itself to as we continue to plan moving forward. So again, both sessions will be virtual. And Ms. Courtney Krieger, our communications specialist, will send additional information to our community as well as post the information to our website.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Kelsey Brown in relationship to ESSER and our virtual listening sessions? Hearing and seeing none. All right, let's move on to our item number 6.
Oh, that's me. Okay,
Wait a minute, hold on. So you saw that one, huh?
No, she snatched my other one, but no, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right, a motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Dr. Beadle.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zink. Motion has been made and seconded. All right, all in favor with raised hand and/or aye. All right, we call this motion carries unanimously. We call this meeting at 7:29 in the PM. Thank you so much for spending time with us this evening and being able to hear and all the rest of the information from the administrative team, as well as from the board about the state of the District of Brown Deer. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Go Bucks tomorrow night. And I say Bucks in 6, and I put it on the record.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Good night.